Hi guys, so last Wednesday I did a video and I took you around with me as I did my daily cleaning routine, and it was sort of like a day in the lifestyle video where I showed you everything that I was doing to kind of keep my house cleaned up. And in that video I mentioned that my routines were a little different when I had younger children, and I asked if you all wanted me to share some of the things that I did when my kids were younger, and I got a lot of responses that said you did want me to share those with you. So that is what today's video is about. And before I get started, you guys seem to really like that style of video, so I will do some more in the future. Probably in a couple weeks I'll do another one where I show doing my once a week cleaning. So that's kind of the plan. I have another video that I want to do next Wednesday about cleaning, so I will do some more like that because I know you guys said that was really helpful. So I definitely take into consideration all of your comments, and that video got a lot of likes, so I know that you guys like that style, so I will do more like that. So today I wanted to talk about things that I did when my kids were little and just how I, made sure the house didn't get too out of hand. Of course, you're going to have toys out and things like that when your kids are little. I mean, you can't just, contain them and never let them play. And I started my routines like I showed in the last week's video, which I'll link below. I started doing routines like that when my kids were little, and that was the main reason that I started doing a daily cleaning routine. And I did that because I wanted to keep my house clean and, pretty organized, with the understanding that kids are going to have toys out and things like that. But I didn't want to spend all day cleaning my house. I wanted to spend time with my kids. I wanted to go on walks with them and go to the playground and, read books and all those fun things. And I didn't want to, say no to my kids because I needed to, organize the cabinets or spend hours and hours cleaning. So that is basically where it came from. And if you watch my video, you see that I cleaned up as I went throughout the day, and that is what I did when I had younger kids. And of course, sometimes you can't maybe clean the bathroom right after you get done getting ready because you need to go feed your baby, or you've been in there getting ready for, however long, and that was too long to leave them, to occupy themselves or whatever. So, of course, you need to tend to your children and not, spend too long cleaning. But I think as moms, we can develop some routines that will help us, and that way our home never gets to be like so messy and gross and disorganized that it's just absolutely overwhelming. Of course there will be toys and there will be more stuff. I showed you guys my boys' rooms. I have a 13 and 15-year-old, and their toys are like electronics, and some of them they use at school, so they weren't even in their rooms when I showed you. They have books and things, and they're put away, and they have things on their shelves in their closet, but there aren't any toys in there. And of course it's going to look different than when you have little kids. So little kids have a lot more stuff and it's a lot bigger. So I'm going to give you some tips. And I also wanted to say, in case I forget to say this at the end, I would love it if you guys, you moms, or even if you have older kids now, if you shared some tips in the comments that have helped you, because I'm just going to share things from my perspective, but it would be great for those watching if they could read some of your tips as well. So feel free to share below, because this is just what worked for me, and there might be other things that I might not have thought of, or things that really work for you that might help someone else. So feel free to do that, and I think it would be a great help for the moms out there. So Like I said, I started my routines because I didn't want to spend all day cleaning, and I still wanted my house to be, pretty clean and pretty organized. So one of the things that I think is really important, if possible, is to try to get dressed, soon after you wake up. And I learned this tip actually from Fly Lady, and she was popular a while back, and I think she still is, but she said that we have a different attitude when we're dressed. So if we're in our pajamas or our lounge clothes, we're kind of in the mood to lounge around, but if we're dressed, we're kind of in the mood to get things done. And I see a huge difference. And I sometimes watch videos, like people who do daily videos, and even like, this is just like something I noticed, even the way they talk and like just different things they do when they're dressed and have their makeup on and their hair done compared to when they're like in their pajamas, it changes. And you'll notice that if you really start watching, because we just feel different when we're dressed. So I highly recommend getting dressed. And I know sometimes you need to get up and feed the baby and things like that, and sometimes you just can't. But I would try hard to get up and get dressed first. If you keep a routine like the one that I showed, you won't get so overwhelmed because you'll be doing a little bit at a time. So when you get up, you'll get dressed, and then you'll start like cleaning up after yourself, and then it won't be where it's just like a huge mess, and then you feel overwhelmed and you don't have any time to clean because your kids are needing your attention and everything like that. So I highly recommend developing a routine, and I'm just going to share with you what I did. I think it's so important to start the night before. So what I always did was have my kids put their toys away before they went to bed. And I would start this before they get so tired that there's just no possible way that you could get them to clean up without a complete meltdown. And I would also suggest giving them like a 5-minute, we're going to clean up in 5 minutes. And they don't really understand like time and how long 5 minutes is when they're really young. But if you just mention like, we're going to clean up soon, and that way it's not just like they're having a blast and then it's all of a sudden time to clean up, and that will kind of help with them having a little fit if it's time to clean up. So like I said, just start in advance and give them a little warning, maybe clean up before bath time and things, and put the stuff away. And that way when you wake up, you're not waking up to a giant mess, and that way you're just like cleaning up a little bit at a time instead of leaving things out for weeks and weeks, and then it's just an overwhelming mess. And then I've mentioned this so many times, but if you're newer to my channel, I highly recommend running the dishwasher after dinner and then unloading the dishwasher before you go to bed. Because when you get up, especially when you're a mom, you're doing a million things and you might not have time to unload the dishwasher right away. But if you unload it while your kids are in bed before you go to bed, you'll have a place to put your dishes throughout the day, and that way your dishwasher isn't full of clean dishes and your sink isn't full of dirty dishes, and then it sits like that, for a long time because you don't have the 15 minutes to unload the dishwasher and then another however long to load it back with the dirty dishes. So I highly recommend that. When I started doing that, it helped me so much because it kept my kitchen relatively clean. And I've heard Fly Lady say this too, is when you're one thing that she says is when your kitchen sink is clean, you kind of want to keep the rest of your kitchen clean, and you're not going to pile dishes on your counter and things if you can just put them in the dishwasher. So that is another tip, and I mention that a lot. You can start with your little kids, like toddler age, with their little plastic dishes, letting them put them in the dishwasher, and they will, most kids, if you just teach them a little bit and if you're patient, they will want to help because they feel, you know, big because they're doing, you know, what you do, and they watch mom load the dishwasher and they want to help. So that's something that you can start at a very young age, is just having them put their plastic dishes right in the dishwasher. And if you do that, the dishes just aren't going to pile up and overwhelm you. And if you get in a routine, and we've done this for years and years, probably like 10, 15 years, we've just unloaded our dishwasher before bed and you know, put all the dishes in throughout the day and then run in after dinner and unload it. You know, it's just a habit, and it's so helpful to manage the dishes. As far as laundry, because that is another thing that can be very overwhelming. I mentioned that my kids now, and they take their laundry downstairs, their laundry room is downstairs, and they separate their own laundry. And they started doing that probably around the age of 8. But what I did when they were younger, and you can do this as soon as they are like walking and mobile and, you know, understand where to put the clothes, you can have just a community basket or a hamper and just teach them to throw it in the hamper. It only takes them a minute. And again, a lot of times little kids like to help, and if you just have patience and teach them, you know, put your dirty clothes in the hamper or in this basket, and that way at least it's all in one spot and there aren't dirty clothes in, you know, all your kids' rooms and in your room and all these different spots for the laundry, and then you have to take the time and hold a baby to go get all of the dirty laundry. And what we did when my kids were a baby and a toddler, we actually lived in a different house and it was about the same size as this house. We didn't really have room in our hallway for a basket or a hamper, but I would suggest that if you have room. We just kept it right, I keep pointing to things in my house, but you guys can't even see. Right when you go downstairs, we would just keep the basket there. And at our old house, we didn't use our back door, so it was fine. But we would just keep our basket there, and everybody would just throw their laundry in. And then this is another thing that I did when my kids were little. I would grab the basket and take it downstairs. I would get my kids. And it took longer to do laundry because I had to separate it and everything. So what I did, and my kids loved this and they could get some of their energy out. My toddler at the time, he had one of those, I can't remember the brand, but those big plastic trucks that they ride in and they have a little door and they open and they, I can't remember the brand. I haven't been in the little kid stage in a long time, but you know those trucks where they paddle around with their feet. So he had that and he would ride around the basement, and then my baby would sit in you know, one of those walkers, and he would walk around and I'd put little toys on his tray. So they were having fun while I was doing the laundry instead of just sitting there, or they're upstairs getting into stuff and I'm downstairs doing the laundry and all I can hear is loud noises. So I would just take them down there with me. And I know some houses are different and you might have a laundry room on the main floor or whatever, but I'm just sharing what worked for me. So I would take them down there. They were happy. You know, my toddler at the time was happy to be riding his truck. He loved that. Baby was happy walking around in the walker, and I could separate my laundry. Any laundry that I had hanging up, I could get that to put away. And then if we were down there for a while, just playing and things, I could, you know, put the laundry in the dryer and then fold it and bring it up later. So that was just something that we did with the laundry. So just basically cleaning up as you go, and you'll see if you watch my routine, that's basically what I did. So just, you know, as soon as breakfast is done, you put the dishes in the dishwasher. As soon as lunch is done, or, you know, relatively soon after. Of course, sometimes you have to get up and change a baby, or they're crying or whatever, but relatively soon after, put your lunch dishes in the dishwasher and things like that. Now, we also had a routine to do things each day. So I'll put the link below for my weekly routine, and it's been pretty much the same for years. So I had a day that I grocery shopped, a day that I did my like weekly cleaning, things like that. So that really helps so that you don't feel overwhelmed with the house is dirty and I need to mop the floors and I don't have any food and I ran out of diapers and all of that. Routines help so much. So that is like the biggest tip I could say. And I've also noticed with larger families, I've been to different people's homes who have 5 or 6 children, and some of them are just still their homes are neat and organized with sometimes there are toys out, but I don't really consider that messy because kids are playing with them and their toys. I think it's when things are like gross, like the bathroom is really gross or whatever. But if I go to someone's house and they have little kids and there are toys out, I mean, that really isn't a big deal and we shouldn't even expect that. So the thing that I've noticed with larger families is that the ones whose homes were still, clean and organized, they had a routine. They would have lunch around the same time, they would have their kids nap time around the same time, and they would put the toys away after they would put the toys away before nap time and before bedtime, and that way it was just a routine. It wouldn't get too out of hand, even with more children than what I had. So I just think routines are so important. Also, we would always clean up before nap time, and again, I would say do it before they get so tired that there's just no way that you could get them to take a nap. Maybe like a little bit in advance, and again give them a little warning like we're gonna clean up soon, and then maybe just if it's like 10 or 15 minutes before nap time, maybe you guys could read a book together or something instead of all the toys are out and then you say it's nap time and they don't want to clean up and things like that. So another thing that I did when my oldest was a toddler and didn't take a nap anymore and my baby still napped, I would have my toddler, like when he was 3, 4, 5, take a rest time. So he got used to being able to occupy himself because moms need a little bit of a break. I mean, honestly, we do sometimes. So he would go in and he was allowed to play quietly. So he could do a puzzle, he could read books, he could, do anything that he could do on his bed quietly, and he had to stay in there. And that's just a great habit to get into, is to have your kids have a quiet time, and that way you can have a little bit of a break. If you need to rest for a little while, you can. And during that time, my kids napped at 3 and had their quiet time. I would maybe relax for a little bit and then I would start dinner prep, so I could get a lot of the dinner stuff done, and that way I wasn't trying to deal with a baby who just woke up their nap and needed to eat and needed to be changed and all of that, and then it's dinner time and you haven't had a chance to get anything done. So that was my routine. That's what I did, and it really helped in that way. We pretty much ate when my husband came home from work, and again, just keep on keeping up, keeping things from getting too overwhelming. Clean up as you go while you're cooking and things like that. Another thing is I highly recommend not having too much stuff. That's just my personality. I don't like just tons and tons of stuff anyway, but kids can have just so many things and they are always getting toys and things, and so I would suggest just really going through and getting rid of things that they never ever play with, donating things, or even putting up some of the toys and then only letting them play with like half of them, so do like a rotation kind of thing, and that will really help. Also, when you're organizing your kids' toys, I would highly recommend making the organization something that your kids can easily access. Don't make it so complicated that there's no way that they could put it back themselves. So bins and baskets and things are great because they can just put things in there, and they can easily get to their toys, and it's not all separated out like every little Lego guy or every little action figure. It has its own little spot. That might work for you, but it didn't. Yeah, I didn't even try that because it wouldn't work for my kids. So we would just have it in one basket or one bin, and that way they could just, put it all in there, and everything was there when they wanted to play with it. And that helps your kids from feeling frustrated that they can't find the certain guy that. I just have boys, so I don't know about all the girl toys, so I'm always referring to action figures. But say they want a certain guy to go with certain truck, they can find it because they know it's in this bin, but it's not so complicated that they can't even clean up, and you have to do it all because it has to be organized just so. So that is another tip. Also, when you're cleaning up, you can, play a little game like, let's see who can get 5 things and put them away the fastest, or let's see if we can put all the toys away in X amount of minutes, or things like that, and just make it fun. Of course, I would help them clean up, but I did teach them as they went, and just keep on. They can do more and more as they get a little bit older. I taught them how to make their beds when they were really young. Someone asked me this just recently. When they were younger, they just had like toddler beds, so they would just pull their sheet up, put their pillow up, and it might not be perfect looking or whatever, and if it bothers you, you can go and straighten it up later. But you're just basically teaching them, and just have patience. Remember that they're little, and it's a lot harder for them to pull a giant blanket up and get it all neat. But eventually, if you just keep on having them make their bed, put their laundry away, put their dishes away, clean up after themselves, you'll develop habits instead of they're like 8 years old and you never had them do that, and now you're like, okay, you need to make your bed and you need to do this, and they're like, what? So just, as they get a little bit older, add a little bit more responsibility, and just keep on teaching, have patience, and they'll get it, and then it will be a habit. So my boys, it's just a habit. They don't ever leave the house without making their beds because they just get up and do it because they've done it for years. So this is getting long, and I hope you guys don't mind, but I just wanted to share lots of tips with you because I remember just when I was a young mom and we didn't really have, YouTube wasn't around, and there weren't a lot of resources, and you just want to know what worked for other moms. So I just wanted to share some things. Now, I of course like things really clean and neat, but I also thought it was so important, and I still think it's so important, to allow kids to have creative time and just be kids. Like, they're gonna make a mess. And one of the things that I did, my kids liked to paint and draw and play Play-Doh and all of that, and I never wanted to be one of those moms that didn't let them do that because it was messy. So what we did, we had a huge, ugly vinyl tablecloth, and it was just a couple dollars, and I would just cover our table with it, and it would, drape down the sides. And we would just have times where we would paint, or we would paint as a family, or we would get like those little really easy to put together little wooden models, and we would paint them. We would do Play-Doh. So I was never one of those moms that didn't let my kids, paint or whatever. It was just at a certain time. Like, if they wanted to do it, okay, we're going to do it as a family after dinner, or we have, this time blocked out, so we'll do it instead of all the paints are out for them to get to, and they can just paint whenever they want, because, I think in those things you still have to have it sort of controlled. So one of my sons loved Play-Doh, so we would just put the placemat out and he could do it at the table, and that way, it wasn't like getting stuck in carpet or whatever. So definitely still let them have fun and, get dirty, especially boys. I remember my kids, like when we moved to this house, there was just tons of dirt behind our garage and we filled it in since, but they wanted to dig up there and I didn't want to be one of those moms that never let my boys get dirty or whatever. So, you know, I was like, all right, you can dig and everything, but you have to get a bath after. And they would be just covered. And it wasn't something they did every day, but it was just letting them be kids and letting them, you know, have fun and make a mess, and then just cleaning it up as they went. So I hope those tips were helpful. I hope I didn't forget anything. I jotted down some notes. So if you have any questions about things that I did, feel free to comment below. I do read all your comments and I try to get back to you, especially if you ask a question. I have been very busy lately, so I haven't been able to reply to all the comments, but I am reading them. So feel free to comment, and also if you have tips that you want to share, feel free to comment below, and that way some of the other ladies might get some great tips from you. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you.